said, and watching the documentary, he was around how many? Every other second. It was the poet too. Oh, what's his name? J. Ivy.
Yeah.
Who I DM'd, responded back, and told me to email him, but never got back. But I seen there was.
That's why you remember his name. that's why you remember his name.
Because I saw him and then I was like, hold up, that's the. What's going on, y'all? Here we are, here at WSJU Radio, #1 radio show in New York City, #1 college radio show here, and today I got y'all, it's the J.S show. Here I'm your host, Jonathan, JS, whatever you want to call me. I'm here with my co-host.
Hey, Gary, Eric Dell, Eric G, Lord Greatness, Party Next, me, Gary Next Door, whatever you want to call me.
And today, we are on the eve of World War III.
Hey, yo, I also wanted to point out, I used to talk to a girl. She's in the Air Force right now, too. So, blessings do come in many different ways. Anyway.
So, yes, as I'm sure a lot of people have seen that the news recently has World War III. We will not be talking about that, but prayers out there for everyone in the Ukraine.
Except the one who broke my heart.
Yes. And prayers out for everyone in the world, because who knows what's going to happen in a few months. We thought COVID would last a week, and 2 years later, we're still in COVID. So,
yeah.
We'll just leave that right there. That's not something we want to talk about. So, let's just jump right into the topic today. So, recently what came out now is a Kanye West documentary and Jeen-Yuhs. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on Netflix, streaming right there. It's part 2 just came out yesterday. I have not caught up on that yet. Gonna be probably watching that tonight. Me and my girl are gonna watch that. And, yeah, she's gonna come on. One, I watched it. It's really good, and honestly, what we're gonna do is just talk about the whole Kanye West documentary, Jeen-Yuhs, and everything like that. So, honestly, Gary, what was your opinion on it when you first watched it? I know you're a big Kanye fan.
Yeah. I'm a big Kanye fan, and coming from somebody who's a producer himself as well. You know, I used to rap. My friends try to get me back in it. Whatever. It's something that is very inspirational, and you see what he goes through, and it's like, okay, I can relate to that. You know, I'm not a dude who's out there having the streets, so I can relate to his lyrics. You know, I had the same goals, dreams, and ambition. I did the same move too. I came up to New York because I wanted to look for opportunity. So it just makes me want to try harder, and it just sees everything that I went through, doing being up here and what I went through before, just to get to where I'm at and to get to where I want to be.
Yeah, and I would say I can somewhat relate to that. I'm not a music person. I'm more of a film person, more of a media person. I've always done videography on the side, everything in the background. And from my perspective, watching it, honestly, Kanye came off as a very inspirational person to me, and that's why I want to kind of just get into as me not being too much of a music person. I kind of know the basics of Kanye. Basically, from Chicago. Produced music before he got into rap and music and everything as such. Yeah. I pretty much know the small details of him, went from producing to musician, crazy amount of Grammys, superstar, so many platinum records. Does he have a diamond album?
Nah, I don't believe so, nah.
But crazy record sales, still one of the top artists, married to Amber Rose.
Nah, he dated her.
Dated Amber Rose, then married Kim Kardashian, and then eventually went on to, end up divorcing, where he's now currently beefing with Pete Davidson. But besides that point right there, it was honestly interesting a lot to learn more about his history and a lot about his past. What I really liked about the documentary is it really showed it from the start, from when he first came over to New York City, literally in his apartment in Chicago, all the way to him coming over to New York City. Like you said, that came off as really inspirational, and then you say he took that same similar route.
Yeah, I took that same similar route and then just went along with it, Then he came back to his own city just to show the roots because where he came from. That's the first thing he did as soon as he got signed. He got signed to Rockefeller, and then he came right back home to Chicago.
And that's nice. So when I first started watching the documentary, I remember I started off with what was he? It was his the guy who's recording him. What he was like?
It was Cootie.
Cootie, and Cootie was what he was like. He was like a stand-up comic who basically got a TV show because back then it wasn't a YouTube channel you could get. There was no YouTube.
Yeah.
If you wanted to get some of your out there entertainment, you had to get on a TV channel. So, and he had his friend Cootie basically record everything like that. So it was interesting to learn like who Cootie was and understand where he comes from and why he chose to like work with Kanye so much and how much like effort he like really put into like how push Kanye. You know, it really, you know, and another thing I wanted to basically go into was, besides that point with Cootie, was the whole Kanye thing. The whole time I'm watching it, I kind of looked at it like, I keep telling myself like, this dude's a billionaire now.
Yeah.
At the time, he's just a 19-year-old kid who likes to produce music. He likes to write music, to make music. And it's like 30 years later, he's this like one of the most powerful dudes on the planet right now.
Not only that, I wanted to point out, look at like everybody on the Rockefeller roster too that was signed, that everybody was pushing, or like the rappers that was hot at the time that like he was trying to get a hold of. You know, he was trying to get like Scarface on the hook. You know, like Rockefeller at the time they had like a lot of Philly rappers. They had Freeway, Beans, they signed Petey Crack. I mean, that like they had all those rappers, and look who became the most successful out of all of them during all that time.
Yep. And I love that part too.
Yeah.
Like you said, all these other artists were around it. And one thing I've noticed is in that whole documentary at the beginning, you're seeing this. I remember Mos Def was there. I remember, help me with this. I know you remember that.
Talib Kweli.
Yeah, all these guys were around. And it was crazy to see that he was just the guy making the beats for them.
Yeah, because now he was selling them for cheap because they were going to him because his beat sounded nice and he was giving it to them for cheap. But what really helped him establish himself in the industry as a producer was H to the Izzo.
H and Izzo, elaborate more on that.
H to the Izzo, V to the Izzy.
Okay. Because like I said, not a music person. It's tough for me to get to music.
It was that song by Jay-Z, H to the Izzo, off of Blueprint 1.
Okay.
And then he also did the Takeover. If you really, for hip hop head, you know that's the song where Jay-Z dissed Mobb Deep and Nas, but specifically he was more known for dissing Nas.
Okay. So, thank you for that, Gary. So, basically, yeah, and I noticed that he had all these artists around him, and he was just sounding his beats for cheap. Like, these guys were basically just like, at the time, Kanye was kind of just the nerdy kid with the beats.
Yeah.
He wasn't seen as like, they didn't take him serious. At the time, you had to be a gangster to be a rapper.
Yeah.
Like the guys who owned the label, Jay-Z, he was known as the big crack dealer, and now he owns the big label and everything like that. They weren't taking the kid with the backpack going to school. They were taking the kid that was skipping class going to selling crack or selling drugs outside of it. So he was kind of an anomaly at that time, you know?
Yeah, they didn't want to hear nobody rap about like him having issues at school, him like coming late to class, not him being insecure. They want to hear about him like flipping coke, him shooting other dudes. But Kanye didn't want to do that because Kanye didn't live that lifestyle growing up.
Mm-hmm. And I remember listening to him. This is what I really like, and this is what I really respect about the documentary, about how they really just got everything in depth about him. I remember there was one part where he was going like, Kanye was saying like, well, I'm not this street dude. I'm not this street, I'm not that type of guy that these people want me to be. I'm just a guy that likes rapping. I'm just a guy that likes making beats and everything like that. And I'm not what they want. That's why they're not giving me a chance. The best part, I would say, of the documentary, I'm sure this part's like all over the place now, is when he has his, when he's playing his music for the marketer and everything.
Yeah, I remember that. He went to the Rockefeller headquarters. They recognized him because, he made the beats for the Blueprint, and then people are, like, the first thing that he said when he walked in is like, yo, man, this producer, he's nice, man. I need a beat, man. Where's my beat? And then, like, after that, he's walks into, like, different, like, marketing consultants, different, like HR managers, people in different offices, and he's playing All Falls Down, like, some of them were being nice to like listen to it, but you can tell like it was just like they get that on a regular basis. Somebody trying to like come in and play music, so they was like just trying to push it off. Like they were just kind of like acting. They were ignoring him, wasn't really like acting too into it, Yeah,
I remember that part. They weren't even like paying attention to him. Like they weren't even giving him the time of the day. And it's crazy. He's playing songs that are complete hits right now that some people can literally say lyric to lyric, And at that time, they weren't even acknowledging it. They were just ignoring it. And that's basically wants me to go right into my point of like how that documentary is really inspirational. It's really inspirational when watching it. Like just from like just say like not even just if you're a musician, just from like a people aspect, you know, of just showing how this one person really just took all this rejection, took all these like I could say L's at the time, all these losses at the time, and he honestly just never gave up and always pursued what he wanted.
Like this part wasn't really highlighted that much in the documentary, even though I know what happened in real life. But like he also there was also a time around that time when he went to a car accident. Yeah. And then like while his jaw was wired shut, when he had to like drink juice for food and stuff, he recorded the song through the wire.
That's crazy.
And that was like still early in his career, you know, like that just shows like how like hard he like took a situation where it was impossible, he made it possible.
Yeah. And it says a lot about Kanye, because I'm sure nowadays Kanye's image is kind of misconstrued, you know?
Yeah.
Like, people don't, like, because nowadays I'm sure a lot of people, especially younger people, a lot of people who aren't into music like that, and people like me who aren't the biggest, like, music tone people, and I'm talking about, like, not that, oh, you got a diverse playlist. I'm talking about, like, you can literally give the whole history of a song. Like, I tell you a beat, and you can really run it all down for me, you know?
So I was saying, like, yo, on SoundCloud, I was set at, like, 14 listens for, like, a whole, like, 2 months. I'm like, when I reached my first 100 listens, it took me a whole month to get it. When I realized people were getting that stuff, like, in a whole day. So then now, like, I realized it probably wasn't me. Basically, I said was that I realized the issue, it wasn't me, it was my environment, and I had to change that. So when I went to college, I decided to go to St. John's because it was in New York. Not only the fact that it was a college that J. Cole went to, it was just like, it's also a really good college, and I know, like, whether I find connects in this school or not, I'm going to find connects in New York City regardless. And, like, look at me now, you know, I met, like, people I've looked up to. I've, like, shown my stuff, like, just last night, I was at this music video shoot doing PA work for this guy, No Cap.
That's tough. You was word with No Cap?
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough. And you was just telling me about the whole Meek Mill thing, meeting his producer and everything like that.
Yeah, like, tell a story a lot. You know, Meek Mill, when he was back in 2007, he was a local rapper. He messaged my sister on MySpace, and he, you know, was in North Philly with my uncle when growing up. So there was this producer, Jallo Beats, he used to work with back in the day. I used to really look up to Jallo. That's the reason why I use FL Studio when I produce. So, you know, like a couple years ago, somebody in here interviewed him and had me in the room, and I got to finally meet him and chop it up with him.
Yeah, and that's tough. And that really just correlates the whole thing with like how, like you said, when you're around more creative people, it really brings it out of you. And I can honestly relate to what you were saying. Like when I first came up here, like being back home, there's not that many people that's like in the videography or anything like that, or media and such like that. There's probably like 3 dudes that'd probably be like into it, I would say. And I honestly, it was hard for me to relate to them because like we were completely different, opposite people. I didn't like hang out with them or nothing like that. So it was hard for me to really build a connection with those type of people, you know? And until like I came up to New York, and like I said, I kind of came up here with the similar reason, because I knew it was a space where you could really build a media and really build, like you said, like in the art scene, because I knew there was more people like that around here. Like I got my one friend back home, shout out Daniel, and he produces just like you and everything like that. And he's like one of the few people like back home like that really do all that, you know? So I would say coming up here, me personally too, just coming up here and going to the studio, really being able to connect with people that like are in creative stuff, like more are like into the arts and everything like that. It really brought out a lot in me and really like helped me like push and do more things too and pursue more things, and honestly get more encouragement and get like more confidence to want to put myself out there and put my work out there. And honestly, watching the documentary, I can really understand why Kanye had that mindset of really just wanting to push it out there, really wanting to go forth with what he was doing, you know? So I would say, honestly, like, having like a good creative mold around you, honestly, I feel like builds you up a lot more. Because like I said, and watching the documentary, he was around how many? Every other second. It was the poet too. Oh, what's his name? Jay Ivy.
Yeah.
Who I DM'd, responded back, and told me to email him, but never got back. But I seen there was.
That's why you remember his name. That's why you remember his name.
Because I saw him and then I was like, hold up, that's the. But anyways, so I seen there was the poet J. Ivy. There was there. I seen Mos Def was there. He was around, like you said, Dame Dash. He was around all these type of all of these like musicians, artists, moguls, people that would see what he was doing and understand it. And I think that was one of the most important parts to it as well. Not only was it just being around these creative people, but being around people that understood what you were doing and what you were trying to push, you know?
Yeah.
So honestly, I think that the whole Kanye thing and the whole Kanye scene the documentary was really important and it was really interesting to watch.
And that just goes back to what I said. The lesson is basically probably is not you. It's probably the people that you're around, your environment. You know, like I always said back at home, I feel like I'm a shark inside of a fish tank because I feel like I'm way more bigger than the environment I grew up in, and there's more out for me in the world.
Yeah, and you're right. And like you said, it's a beautiful point you just brought up. So honestly, I feel like the whole Kanye documentary, it really, to me, it's honestly a really inspirational thing to watch. Like I said, I'm not a music person. I knew the basics of him. From Chicago, was a producer first, and then went to musician, Grammys, da. I didn't know who he was around. I didn't know who was in his ears. I didn't know like his mindset at the time. I didn't know how he was at the time. You know?
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was just like us, young kid. Really inspirational, had dreams, had visions for the future, could see what he could do when he gets older, you know? And the one thing I noticed about him, he was confident. He manifested it. He wanted everything that he said, oh, I'm gonna do this, this is gonna be my Grammy speech. He did all of that. He said, I'm gonna be different for everyone, and he was. Because at the time, there was no Tyler, the Creators, there was no Kid Cudi, or am I wrong?
There wasn't, because they all take inspiration from him.
Yeah. There was Pharrell, but Pharrell wasn't singing Happy back then. Pharrell was just making beats, right?
Basically, yeah.
But there wasn't that many dudes. There was Nas, there was Jay-Z, there was, the gangster rappers and all that stuff.
All the whole state property.
Yeah, there wasn't that.
Yeah.
It wasn't him at the time. So honestly, seeing his documentary, it really made me have the mindset of, just do it. Like, if you can find like a good group of people, and you don't necessarily need it. I think you don't have to necessarily find a group of people like in person, because nowadays you can go to the internet, you can go to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere, and find a decent group of people to have these creative conversations with,
Yeah, but then still with going with that, I always say that everything's better in person than like on the virtual. But
that is true.
Yeah.
So pretty much, we'll wrap it up here though. To conclude up here, and I would say, watch the Kanye documentary.
Yeah.
Part 2 just came out yesterday. Yesterday. And it's a really good documentary, honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect from it, because like I said, me personally, am I a huge Kanye fan? Nah, but if I hear a banger by Kanye, I'm going to hear a banger by Kanye. So I would like to say, if you ever get the chance to, watch the documentary. It's pretty damn good. And
that's not a bad word.
Yeah. It's pretty good, and I hope everyone enjoys it and everything like that. And like I said, it's really inspirational.